Take one.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Sam Mebane. I'm the Mexico Program Director for Yellow Dog Fly Fishing. And today we're going to talk about packing for a trip to Mexico. We're going to dive right into flies, and we'll start the top of the Yucatan Peninsula and work our way down. The top of the Yucatan Peninsula is mainly going to be a tarpon fishery, mainly juvenile tarpon. That's almost exclusively what you'll be going for up there. There's going to be some snook and other species which eat these flies as well. So these are all really great to take for the northern Yucatan. Just kind of first things first, what I like to look for with flies when I'm buying flies or tying flies for some of these trips are the hooks. And you want to make sure that you have really good hooks, that you're not skipping out on those, because they can be the difference maker between landing a fish and not. Basically what you're going for with these tarpon flies are going to be bait fish imitations. Some of my favorites, this one in particular, it's an EP fly. This is Enrique Puglisi's peanut butter. This color is really popular and works really well down there. It's tied on a really great hook. The black and purple is kind of my go-to, be the first tarpon fly that I would tie on up there. And this one is great, definitely one to bring. And having these in a variety of colors is important, just different color bait fish. And I like sort of a lighter color version if they're not too honed in on the dark color. So a white and chartreuse or just straight chartreuse is a great one to have. In addition to that, looking at sort of the more solid yellow, this is a perch imitation, which they have a lot of up there, and tarpon are pretty honed in on, so these work well. Okay, and then beyond sort of basic bait fish imitations, you can get some more classic patterns, like a clouser works really well. Red and white is a great color pattern to have there. Different variations with white is really good with clouser. It's kind of the classic for that pattern. And then moving on to some other just sort of different bait fish imitations. These are really great from Umpqua. I believe these are called the King's Choice. They have excellent hooks. This is the brown and orange, another really good color combination to have down there, as well as olive and purple, of course. Purple and black, really good combination. Look at some of these olive ones. Really, really great pattern down there. It's got some great action when it's swimming in the water. And here is a purple version of it out of the bag. You can see it's just really a beautiful fly, and the hook on here is fantastic. And I would feel really confident catching, a 30+ pound tarpon on that hook. After that, Rio makes a really good fly right here that I like a lot. This is the red and black smelling salt. Another just really good fly with good action down there to use in the Yucatan. Tarpon love really all of these patterns. A lot of the time, if they're not too honed in on one color, like this, switch to a lighter color. A lot of the times they'll eat more out of aggression and a reactionary eat than actually being honed in on one thing specifically. So having a range of colors and patterns is really important when you're fishing for tarpon in the Yucatan. Okay, so we've already talked a little bit about tarpon flies. Now we're going to move on to the other species, permit and bonefish. Those round out our big three. For permit down there, you're going to want some specific flies. And down there we have come to realize that raghead crabs work really well, especially raghead crabs with yellow eyes. And I'm primarily talking about Ascension Bay. We're kind of moving from the top of the Yucatan Peninsula. We're mainly fishing for tarpon up there. Now we're going down to Ascension Bay with a lot more species. And raghead crabs work really well. It would be the first crab I tied on fishing Ascension Bay for permit. And here's an example of one here. Now, Ascension Bay, unlike some other flats areas in the Caribbean, it's going to be a deeper bay. So you want a heavier fly that's going to get down quicker rather than a lighter fly, that is going to sink in that water column a lot slower. You're going to want to get down a lot faster because it's deeper. Sometimes these permit are deeper in that water column, and you just really need to get right in front of their face in order to catch one. And so I like these heavier ragheads. Yellow eyes are fantastic. You know, sometimes you're gonna want to switch it up on them, maybe a different color, like white with white eyes can be good. Again, bigger size, deeper sink rate. And then after that, you know, we have a really good variety here at our shop. We've got some olive ones that work really well in Ascension Bay and Chetumal Bay as well, so further down south, but these work well in Ascension Bay also. After that, another really great pattern that I like a lot is the Danger Muffin. Now these work really well in Ascension Bay because they are heavy. They're tied on a fantastic hook. They sink really quickly and they're durable. This is a fantastic fly to take down there, one I would highly recommend. We have a lot of great colors and sizes of these at our shop that we could get to you no problem. That's a good one to have. And then after that, we have an EP crab, which just has a little bit more material than some of these ragheads and has a little bit more action in the water. This is another fantastic crab. You know, you really want to go down there with a mix of patterns, of colors, and you know, most importantly, that sink rate. You'll have one guide one day who might like a raghead and only wants to fish that, and then if you fish with another guide another day, he might only want to fish with this EP crab. So having variety is very important, and they all can work really well. You know, of course, it's all situational and what mood the permit is in at the time, but we have vetted all these patterns, and I would feel confident sending anybody to Ascension Bay with these for a permit. Moving on to shrimp. You know, permit do love to eat shrimp as well. Having some spawning shrimp is very important to have down there. First permit I ever caught was on a spawning shrimp. It's an excellent pattern. We've got some really great ones at the shop with those heavier sink rates, tied on excellent hooks. And you know, if you're going for bonefish or permit, it's a great thing to take with you. And on that note, mantis shrimp are another fantastic pattern to take with you. Moving into bonefish a little bit, gotchas are a classic. You know, a much smaller bonefish pattern to take down there. The bonefish in Ascension Bay are going to be smaller, more cookie cutter than they would be in the Bahamas. So having smaller bonefish flies down there is very important. Then one of my favorite shrimp patterns to take, that I take with me everywhere, Mexico or not, is a Vivercus shrimp. Now this one works really well regardless of where you are. It's great for Ascension Bay. You can work in the Bahamas, Belize. It's an all-around excellent shrimp pattern to take, and you know, bonefish love these. This would be the first bonefish fly I tied on right here. Okay, and then as we move further south from Ascension Bay, one thing to keep in mind, the patterns don't really change too much, but the sink rate and size will change. So if you move further south from Ascension Bay, you get into Espiritu Santo Bay and then Chetumal Bay. And both of those, you're going to want smaller crab patterns. So I've got a smaller raghead here, which would work well in both of those bays. And basically that goes for all the patterns in those areas, Espiritu Santo Bay and Chetumal Bay. You're going to want smaller, a little bit lighter than you would take to Ascension Bay, but all the same patterns should work well. Just having that little less weight, a little smaller size will be pretty important when going down there. So there's a lot of great ways to carry your flies when you're fishing in the Caribbean. I personally like one of two ways. I either have smaller separate boxes for each species, or this way, which I like because you can see everything at once, have a bigger box with all of your flies in there for all three of your species. So for example, here I basically have my permit and bonefish covered. I could probably use a little bit more, especially if I was there for a week, but for these purposes, this is perfect. You know, I have everything in my line of sight that I can pick and choose from. I could hand this box to my guide, have him look and see everything that I have him pick something out, and it's just basically one-stop shop for my flies. And these big boxes are really nice. We have these at our shop, and I would definitely recommend something like this. I've got one side for permit and bonefish. The other side, kind of got some in the bag here still, but you know, having one side devoted to tarpon is a good idea, just to kind of keep things separated, as these do take up a little bit more space.